What's up, everybody? It's Mandrew here today for episode 51 of Last Call Gaming, of course. I am one of your popular hosts, along with the ever handsome, as he is unfaithful, Craig Perales.
Unfaithful?
I was trying to think of another word, but I couldn't think of it.
See, they're not as easy as you think, huh? You gotta just spitfire them out. You gotta think of something real quick.
I couldn't remember what it was.
It hurts my heart. It hurts my heart. So what are we drinking today, Andrew?
The Koenig Ludwig Weissbier.
The Weissbier.
But I thought I'd steal the intro from you. You can have the rest.
Guys, welcome to episode 51. I am your lovable and most loyal host, Craig Perales, and the most handsomest with head of hair that only the gods pray for, Mandrew Montemayor.
Oh, I was trying to think of Deadpool, where he's like, what's the cousin's name in Deadpool?
The cousin?
That he puts in the trunk or whatever?
Oh, fuck. That's, I don't know, a name I probably...
His name's Dopinder, and then the other guy's name is... So I know the chick's name is Kita.
I hope it hits you in like 3 minutes. And you shout it out.
But he's like... He's dishonorable as he is handsome, is how he describes him. That's what I was trying to remember, but I couldn't remember.
That would have been a lot nicer and a way more smoother segue. So, guys, Andrew picked out this week's beer, and this is, obviously, like you said, the Koenig Ludwig Weissbier, but the kicker was, it's a 5.5er, and I know this is going to sneak up, but I was looking at it, I'm like, man, it looks a little cloudy in this thing. Looks like a storm's a brewing. And then what's it say on the top?
It says it on the label, naturally cloudy wheat brew.
Yeah, naturally cloudy wheat brew or beer?
Brew.
So I don't know what that means, but I like it. And
it's good.
Surprisingly quite refreshing.
It's a German beer. I think...
It's a German beer, yes. And the box was cool because it had a bunch of like trivia on the side of the box. So
yeah,
I was like, so if you guys, again, as always, if you want to drink along with us, pause it now. Make sure you get yourself a beverage of choice and tag back in.
Bantu.
Drink along with us. Oh, you remember one of the slogans? What was it?
No, the guy's name. His cousin is Bantu.
Nice. I thought you were referencing the Hawaiian surf cap.
Oh, no.
It meant something. I was like, okay.
No, that's the cousin's name.
Nice. See, he's always good for pulling one out. But before we get the show started, guys, I want to... So we gave a big shout out to Alessandra on our last episode. She's a young viewer. We actually had somebody write into us and ask if they could get a shout out, and that is Andrew. And two Andrews do not make a right. He is a big Minecraft player. He lives in Albuquerque, and he has a YouTube channel, and he goes under the name Drew Coriel. So if you guys want to get a shout out, a plug, we can post something up that shows what you're doing, where you're from, and you support the channel, feel free to write us in, guys. Email lastcallproductions@gmail.com. Write us on Instagram at lastcallproductions. Write us on Twitter at lastcallprodz. So apparently some people like to shout out. It was an adorable video.
I loved it.
Yeah, we had someone else reach out to us. So there is your shout out. So we'll tell your little brother to jump on here. We'll throw him one out too.
I hate New Mexico.
Hates it?
Albuquerque was like one of the alright places that I went, but yeah, New Mexico sucked.
Where else have you been in New Mexico?
Dude, I've been all over because I remember I had to go for work and I was gone for 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, and I had to go to like Raton and
so
Roswell.
You had a work vacation in there.
Yeah, but none of those towns were cool.
Well, I'm sure it's just a lot of flat desert and a lot of cacti.
Yeah, I thought it'd be a lot more like California, where it's just like there's desert but farm and kind of populated. But it's like fucking pitch black out there, and it's like nothing.
Well, hey, you know what? I'm sure Andrew, the real Andrew, disagrees. So let us know what's beautiful about Albuquerque. And again, man, big shout out to you. And if you guys want to get shout out in our videos, just send it to us. We have no problems doing that.
Yeah, I'll throw a shout out.
So, guys, this is episode 51, and as the thumbnail suggests, we are talking about prices going up. We're talking about PlayStation Indies, and to start it off is the fact that the new NBA game is showing for the next gen game prices is going up by $10. Now, if you were to look at the Switch, the PS4, the Xbox One, the PC, or the Stadia version that comes out on September 4th so far, it is staying at the casual $59.99 price, the price we were all used to. But the Series X and the PS5 launch titles that are coming out this holiday have been bumped to $69.99. Now, before we cement that, this is based on 2K's suggested retail price, and the actual price may vary, but I gotta assume that if you're gonna make that jump, or at least put it on there, like what, unless you're going back down all the way or up another 10, that seems like a pretty solid spot to just stay at.
Yeah, if they've already put that up to, I don't think there's any way that they'd be like, oh, oops, sorry, we didn't mean that. We're going to go lower.
Yeah, no one's going to take down $2 on it and be like, oh, it's a 67. So,
Yeah.
Andrew, you're looking at this thing. I mean, I think, I'm almost positive, we've talked about this before, but it was inevitable that games eventually had to go up, especially with the new hardware that we're getting.
I actually don't buy into it. And so if you want to give your opinion, because I kind of want to plug someone else that I watched, but I had already kind of been a little iffy on it before to where I thought I understood. But after watching something else, I was like, no, you know what? Whatever. But I'll get into that.
Okay, so I'll
if you think that's a logical thing to do.
I think it is the logical thing to do, and I think that it makes sense. I guess before I get more into it, I would think that if we were doing it, the only hiccup I would say that needs to be done is I think there still needs to be a difference between what digital pricing is and what physical pricing is. Because if you're actually buying something that costs something to make, then I understand that there's more to it, even though we're losing our instruction booklets and stuff like that. Essentially, all we get is a piece of plastic that holds the disc. But if they were to move it to like a $69.99 for digital and even like maybe a $74.99 for physical, I could see that. But price. So there's a really good article that you guys should check out on VentureBeat that interviews Sean Layden. He was the one-time PlayStation CEO, stepped away back in 2019, and he was saying, you know, I don't want to paraphrase it because it's a lot that he has to say. He's saying that once upon a time, you know, games cost around $1 million to make, and since every new generation, it's gone up at least 2 times to where modern day we're making games that cost $80 to $100 million to make games and up, and that the cycle to make that game is now up to 5 years. Now, if you're going to put on that price to make games goes up times 2, like how it traditionally looks that it shows, then the model can't sustain itself, because the way we're looking at games evolve is that everything wants to be this kind of new open world, this minimum 50 hours plus, that we need to add all this new DLC. Everything needs to be online. So if you're going to start turning things into 50 to 70 hour games and you're still benchmarking it at the $60 price point, then when investors are putting money into something, and the fact that it's going to take them 5 years to make something that's now theoretically going to cost closer to $200 million, the return on investment just isn't there. Now, there's certain games that lend themselves to do this. Now, the best example I can think of is Assassin's Creed. Look how Assassin's Creed started. It used to be kind of this rogue, run-around stealth game that you would kill someone and grab your missions, and then it turned into this big open-world mission, online DLC. So there are games out there that require that upbeat, but then you look at games like Rage 2. Rage 2, I mean, it wasn't a failure by any means, but it didn't deliver the way I think it wanted to, and it didn't gain the money that it needed to. So there's certain things I think you don't need to make everything a 50 to 60 hour open world game, especially if the sales aren't gonna justify the means, because a lot of these people wait till the end of that 5 years as the big payout, and if there's no big payout, then what was the sacrifice for? And they were saying that the last price range, the last price jump was back in 2005, 2006 when the 360 and the PS3 were coming out. And that's the last time we saw it jump from a 49 to a 59. So I would think it'd be perfectly fair to jump to a 69 and maybe even $10 more, because the only other concept that can happen is if certain studios take a step back and start making smaller games again. Like I'm not saying Crash Bandicoot by any means is small, but we were watching the trailer for Crash 4. It looks like a good old-fashioned traditional game. It's not big. It's not open world or anything like that. And you're going to lose out on studios that could be making smaller projects instead of trying to shoot for the stars and then failing. I mean, I'll go into a little bit more, but before I do, I kind of want to hear your side of it.
Okay, so I have two original thoughts that I want to bring up before I kind of bring up that other piece. So the first one being that, one, if I'm going to be paying, I'm still going to pay more. Like it just is what it is. There's no way around it. So if it is, it is. One, I want to bring up too that games are more expensive, but games also now, depending on what they are, sell more than what they used to. So back when you had the Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, whatever, I don't think any of those games are ever going to touch Grand Theft Auto's or Minecraft's numbers or anything like that. Grand Theft Auto continuously, even though that game was infamously crazy expensive to make, and that's one of the few games that keeps selling, is always in the top 5 every single month. And it has been for fucking how many years since it came out?
Can I counter inject? Because and I think Rockstar saw the writing on the wall. Instead of giving us 6 Grand Theft Autos in 5 years, we've had 1. So they're not. It's not like they're trying to build another game. They're resting on the laurels of what GTA 5 has done. They haven't put into a 6 yet. So they're writing on it, going, hey, well, we're not going to make a new game because this one's already doing so well, and I like that.
Well, yeah, no, I like that too, but that's part of the thing that I'm saying though is, okay, this game's doing well, it's going to sell well, so you make a well game and you sell it at whatever price, and it's going to sell more than what you're going to make. So there's no reason to increase the price. But 2, like, what about all these games? So let's say I'm paying more. What about all these games that have like the 1,050,000 day one fucking patches and all that stuff? So now I'm paying more for an incomplete game than I already currently am. Is another big thing that I have a problem with. Because I already have a problem with when I buy a game and it doesn't work, or I have these million updates, or I can't fucking connect to anything, especially big time online shooters. Like, a lot of them when they come out have a lot of problems, and I get what it is, but for how much that I'm paying and now you're asking me to pay more,
because I don't want to interrupt you, so unless you're done, I just want to say one thing, like,
No, go ahead.
Well, because again, yeah, he's completely right. There's games like Fallout 76 that never should have seen the light of day. So and
that's a full price game.
Yeah, so I'm completely with you. If it needs to stay at that, if I'm not getting what it is, but then this needs to return into what developers are doing. If a game's fucking like that, then automatic refund or half price back. Because there's no reason
or something, but not every game too need, and that's
we don't really need a Fallout 76.
I don't online. Not every game needs to be this over the top like Call of Duty where it's shoved down your throat. There's lots of Dark Souls isn't shoved down people's throats, and that's a very well selling franchise. I know it's not Call of Duty numbers, but Sekiro won Game of the Year, and I don't remember that being shoved down my throat every 2 seconds. And that's part of the thing, too, is you have all these people trying to copy that, thinking that their game's going to be that, regardless of whether it will or won't. I don't remember what it was. I think it was something, I'd have to look it up. I think it was from like EA or Squeenix. It was one of those two, I want to say, that put out a game, and I don't remember if it was like Tomb Raider or something else again. But it sold, I think, like 3 million copies. But because they put so much into marketing and all this other bullshit and everything, it still didn't meet its goal and was deemed like a failure. And for a game to sell 3 million copies, I think is nothing to sneeze at. But for something like that to still be considered like a failure is absolutely crazy. But where I'm leading some of this into, and I recommend go watching his video, is Jim Sterling had put out something a while ago regarding like why it's kind of bullshit for some of the pricing like that, because not only are you getting some of the other points I made, incomplete games are selling more than ever, but you're also paying too. So if you're already buying the game, now you're paying for DLC, for season passes, for all these microtransactions. The only reason anyone should raise the price of this game is to make it, to make its money back. So what's the point of if I'm raising the price of this game to make my money back, then there should be no need for any of that other stuff. But I guarantee you we're still going to get just as many microtransactions, just as many season passes, just as much DLC for all this other stuff. And that's kind of the big thing for that. That's the reason that stuff exists in the first place, is for a game to, like Assassin's Creed, it's not an online multiplayer. It has a peak. Whether it sells well or not, let's say it didn't sell well, hypothetically, let's say it didn't meet its goal, it could further get more money by all this DLC, the microtransactions, whatever it is that they want to do, and that can make up for the difference. So by charging us more now to make the game, we shouldn't need that other stuff.
Right, but what he's saying is, historically speaking, every time a next gen happens, the price to make games doubles. So if the next game doubles and you're keeping it at the same price, and I understand you're saying, if I'm getting a broken game, then why am I paying $10 more? But if the game studio costs this much more to make, and they're still making the same value, then they gotta. Where do you make that up at? If you're still making the same and you're still selling a lot, but now your price just went from 100 million to 200 million, then what happens? When do the employees start making their cuts? If you're still trying to pay off the game when you make it at twice the amount that old games at the last gen did. I think that's all people are saying. Raise up $10 because that alone makes a healthy percentage cut.
But I wonder if that's where that price is coming on, because we've seen a bunch
of based on the hardware. Look how it looks now.
We've seen a bunch of the next gen stuff. I don't think that it looks leaps and bounds over what the 360 did from the Xbox One. So to say that there's that big a gap, I don't believe is really true. And that's what I'm saying. That's where I'm coming in with the other argument, where how much of that money, how much of that is going towards getting that marketing out there to make it like Call of Duty, where every time you see a commercial, every time it's a YouTube ad, every time it's something, it's this over the top whatever that's crazy expensive, and that's where a lot of the money's going.
Marketing's half of it, though. I mean, if there's no marketing, who's going to hear about it? How many games slip by the cracks where if we weren't even seeing... especially when people don't live in a world with commercials anymore outside of maybe YouTube if you don't have Google Pro. I mean, marketing's got to be a decent percentage of it.
Well, that's what the debate is. I'm not saying that half your stuff even needs to go to marketing, but like even a fourth of it, like to where you need to spend $200 million on marketing. So let's say the game costs $200 million to make. Do you need to put $100 million of that towards marketing like what a lot of people do?
I mean, we're not in. I would love to like interview someone like that and actually talk to someone.
And that's what. And again, yeah, this is all based off of what I think and stuff that I've heard. I don't know the numbers, and so I would really like to see the numbers. Like, okay, I mean, because we have some idea of what some things do, but it's only with the. Grand Theft Auto is a bad example to use because that game's a phenomenon. I mean, we know that game spent the most ever in like marketing as far as commercials and everything go. But that game is a freak of nature. So for something else that's not that, like the next Assassin's Creed, I would love to know like what is the number that goes on that marketing? How much did it cost to make, and like where you're coming back with that is. Yeah. So I think there's an argument for both. But at the end of the day, am I going to pay it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, what can you do? Not buy the game. I mean, you got to take a guy that Sean Layden, who's been in the business forever. I think his almost entire professional gaming career, I think, was in Sony, and all he's pointing out is that if you look at trajectory, that's what happens every time is it doubles, and if this is what's going to happen, then a $60 game can't sustain these studios, especially when more and more studios are making games that are not going to be costing $100 to $50 million up. There's got to be some give, and if $10 in your game, because I don't have a problem with the game going up, but I am, like what Andrew's saying, his main argument is that the game's fucking busted, then I need to be compensated immediately. Because if I buy a game and I cannot fucking play it, then there's no reason. Then this is when you start seeing games start using pushbacks more literal. This is when I get mad and other things going. If the game's coming out this day and it's not ready, then do not say it's going to be ready. Like if we're going to be in a time where now our money is going up, then the quality of the product needs to be there and done and not day one broken, because that would be completely unacceptable. Because then that's the mentality versus the business that's going to clash, is the gamer versus the product maker, and that's where the issue is going to be.
I've seen a lot of people where that $10 is the breaking line for them.
It is, but I mean, then what are you going to do? Not play? And that's
go to PC and get it on a sale.
And until the next year or two comes around, especially with all this backwards compatibility, stay on your Xbox One, stay on your PS4, stay on your Switch, stay on the Stadia, because you're still going to find those games at $59.99. It's going to be any of us day one buyers, Hollywood buyers, holiday buyers day one. They're going to feel that effect. And if you buy the new NBA game at $69.99 and day one it's broken, then what did I just buy?
I hope everybody else launches at $59.99 so they just look like assholes.
I hope, because that's the other thing is a lot of studios are looking at this as kind of the concept, but I think this has to be the new model. I mean, again, we haven't seen a shift in price for a while, since 2006. It's been a while. I think it's time, comfortably earned, that it goes up.
I definitely $10. I don't think this was the game to like be the first to come out there and be like, hey, we're gonna be $69.99, especially when it's a game that comes out every fucking year, just like Madden, to where there's not that much different between the two, whatever the variables.
And in 6 months, it'll be on the EA Pass.
Yeah, and however long it'll be on the EA Pass. Yeah, exactly like that. So this should, it should have been, I don't know, Cyberpunk.
There should have been a hardier title that came out saying, guys, this is what we're going to stick at.
They definitely should have.
Because I'm like, you guys are playing $6.99 for
a basketball game that is the same as the one that came out last year?
But it looks more like all the basketball players, Andrew. So
it looks the same to me.
So leave us your opinion, guys. Clearly, there's two different feelings here, so and they're all subjective. None of them's right or wrong. We're gonna see what happens when the final price is known. But let us know what you think. Should pricing go up for next gen gaming and software, or should it stay the same? Because modern day, how many games are day one crack? So we'll see what happens.
Let me know how many of you are gonna have to eat dog food for a month to afford a game, because this $10
is apparently $10 is the straw that broke the Mandrew's back. So. Anything else you want to add on that, my good man?
Nah.
So the next thing, guys, is the PlayStation Indies, the indie initiation that they just started, and this was a program that I believe they used to have, and they're reintroducing it because at one point in time, Sony kind of stopped the whole indie thing. Now, I don't believe it was in a mean or brutal way. They just kind of cut it off. Now it seems like they're bringing it back, and they just showed off.
Yeah, they really did
9
stop
games.
pushing them for a while.
Yeah, because at one point I remember there was a whole thing saying like,
indie
"This
station,
is the spot.
yeah.
This is where you're gonna get us. This is where," and then it just kind of was gone.
I remember that's what they called it when the PS4. Oh, that's all they have to show is indies, the indie station, whatever.
Yeah,
like that
so,
was the name for it.
9 games just released, and we're gonna hit, I believe, on 6 of them because a couple of them they didn't really show much, and some of them didn't really catch our attention. So let's get into the first one, and that was Fist. They started off strong, and this was a Fist Forged in Shadow Torch. It's by TI Games, 2D action with these anthropomorphic animals and like this kind of 2D blast them and shoot them, and with some of those boss fights look pretty epic. What were your initial thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, I thought it was really cool. He plays like this rabbit that has like this weird one big arm. So that I didn't care for it at first. I was like, oh, it's kind of lame. But once I saw the stuff he do, it's kind of like platformy, left to right, a little almost like Castle, like Metroidvania-ish, I guess, in a way that scope goes. But it looked really cool. Like graphically, I thought it was like very appeasing. But I do like the idea of like, yeah, there's just all these animals. And I thought the coolest thing was, when they showed that boss fight that was like, it was like another rabbit, but this one was almost in like a suit of armor and had like a spear that it was like thrown at you. I thought his design was way cooler than what the rabbit's was.
Cool.
And that's what I would rather play as, but either way, it was still really cool.
Yeah, you always gotta love how the way a good boss looks, and it looks like a lot of this is infused with like mech tech and the way they're gonna be associated. I gotta say, it looked, when that bear turns around, I mean, that was a bear. I mean, it wasn't like cartoon. It wasn't Banjo-Kazooie looking. Like, it was a fucking bear. And it looked really good. I gotta say, what's kind of stole my eyes, if you watch this, because we're gonna have the trailer running, is look at those background scenes. The
background look at the set pieces.
It was just really, really good looking. Nothing really cheesy or generic. And I think it almost kind of stole the show because you see the 2, but then 3/4 of it is just the set, and you're like, man, that looks really good. So for being an indie game, and I'm not too familiar with TI Games, I mean, that to start it, I thought that was a really good start.
Yeah, I really liked that one a lot. I thought it was a good, strong start.
The second one, guys, was a game by Graceful Decay, and that was Maquette. And Andrew, why don't you tell me a little bit about that one?
So this one is it's a puzzle game, pretty much, almost. What's that other one that
Myst.
everybody?
It looked like Myst to me.
Yeah. So it's a first-person puzzle game, but the really cool thing about it and what's different is it's got like 3 layers to the world. So you're trying to obviously get. It didn't really say what the goal was, but it seems like you're pretty much trying to explore it. I don't know, maybe find your way
it's
out
like
of something.
following a love story or something along those lines.
Yeah. It did say that there's some sort of love story, but I don't know if you're trying to make
that
it
doesn't look
someone
like
or
what the
where
mechanics
you're
are,
going.
yeah.
So as far as the mechanics go, so there's a world that you're in that seems normal sized. And like the example they showed is there's a cube in the way, and there's a smaller version of that exact same world in the center hub of that normal sized world, and you can move the cube on there and it moves it in real time on the big one. But then there's an even bigger world on the outside, so that's like the 3rd scope, and so anything you do on the smallest world affects the 2, and that's how you kind of traverse the way around. So it's pretty cool because they showed like another puzzle is you use this key, so you take the key back to the small, it's a normal size key about like that, not normal, it's a key about like that big. You take it back to the smaller world and you can put it between 2 gaps, and now that makes a bridge for you on the medium sized world to get through. Or you take that key and put it along a ledge, and that's how you get out of the medium world into the giant world. And so I thought it was really cool. I mean, graphically, I thought it looked really good too, but...
Yeah, it looked great, and I think it's the only one that had a little commentary over it. There was, I believe, a female speaking over it and kind of walking through what was going on, which is good because in a game like that where...
I wouldn't have understood,
unlike the other game where you can get the concept of 2D side-scrolling action and platforming, this one I liked that they kind of said, well, here's what you do. Because when she was saying, you can take this from A to B, but it affects C all around you, I was just like, man, that is a brilliant concept. And again, once you really look at it, first thing I thought was like Myst. I'm like, okay, it's a game where there's no action, you're not fighting anybody, at least that we know of. Maybe there's more.
I didn't like it until they showed the concept.
Yeah, but then
I was like, oh, it's kind of generic.
Just like, man, this is like 3D chess almost.
Yeah.
It's like you got to keep balancing it out and moving things around, and it's really you versus the world. And again, they said there was a love story between whoever, the guy and the girl. I believe they were mentioning that. But that's not even what I was like catching my eye. I was like, man, this fucking looks sweet. As soon as they moved that red cube and you could see it there, and then out in the outer world, I was like, man. And then your whole point is just to keep traversing. So who knows how many layers actually keep getting stacked on top of each other?
I think it kind of almost reminded me of that. I don't know if you remember it. I think it was a game with gold. It was like Numa, something of light or whatever. You know, that first-person puzzle game. Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking of when I saw this. And I actually really like that as a puzzle. I don't remember the full name. It's like Numa. So I think it was like something light or whatever. But either way, I remember that game being really cool with the puzzles. That this again, a 3D like version of that. Like you're not just thinking on the one level now how to get from A to B. It's how to get to A to B, but how's that affecting A and C now when I do this?
Brilliant. So for being an indie game, looks fantastic. The next one, guys, that we want to talk about is from Amanita Designs, I believe is what it was, and it's the game called Creeks. Now, if you look at this game, Andrew and I always have kind of this passion for things that kind of look Tim Burton-esque. It's this really hand-drawn, dark, platform puzzle-based kind of game. The design actually on, if you look at it, was actually pretty detailed. It's not like maybe like a Limbo game that's kind of everything's dark and shadowy and some cool backgrounds. Look at the character. Everything's really well designed on him. Everything's really well designed on the set pieces. Everything's well designed on everything. So I mean, if it's maybe like Cuphead where it's actually hand drawn, then hats off because everything looks exceptionally well.
I think kind of more reminds me of that game. I think Valiant Hearts is what it is. Is that World War II one? That puzzle.
With the tanks and that kind of switched scope though. And then maybe they do that too. I don't know.
Well, I meant as far as like the art and going back and forth or whatever, like just kind of.
I look at that art as kind of being kind of more wide and washed. With that one, like everything. I mean, I saw the guy's button. I saw the checkers on his jacket. I'm like, it was hard to compare to anything. Maybe Braid might be a little close to it, or how kind of more detailed it looked with some of the things. But
either way, it looks great.
Check it out. Because what I liked was that he's kind of manipulating light, and light seems to stop whatever's chasing him, at least in the trailer I saw. And then once it stops it, you can use it as like, I think a dresser drawer is chasing him, and when light hits it, he kind of can crawl over it, and then he can create, I don't know if he can create, or at one point he can use like a shadow version of something that he can use
those
to go
like
by.
People or something like that.
It looked very, very interesting. And again, I was talking to Andrew when we were watching it, because we watched it today together. It's just like that arcade game. Very interesting and cool mechanic. So, anything else on that one?
No, either way, I think I do want to jump in and note that this was a great presentation.
Oh man, yeah.
It was only like 14 minutes long, but it's definitely the way to do it. So up until this point, there was maybe like, I think they showed like 9 games. There was maybe like 2 or 3. One of them was just like a quick like little whatever in a trailer.
Billboard.
So this is not all the games that they showed.
And again, the link's in the description.
Yeah, we just chose the highlights, but I think it ended up being like 6 out of the 9. The other 3 we were kind of like, whatever.
The other game, the next one I know you liked really a lot was Sunhead Games, Carto, coming out in 2020. Because not all of these had release dates. So Andrew, tell me a little bit about Carto.
I wasn't sure about this one at first, what kind of game it was going to be, because it's just like a chick talking to some dude about herding sheep. But then she goes to a map, and what it seems like is like you have a certain amount of squares allotted to you, and you have to move them around, and that expands the map for you. And so once you go and do whatever, and then you move it back around and come the other way. And I thought that was really cool too.
Yeah,
I always do appreciate, like, even though sometimes I do get a little bit over it, I do appreciate when you talk to someone, and they don't have to be voice acted, even if there's like a little sound or whatever, like that Mario 64, like blip, 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 when you talk to the bombs or whatever. Just something small like that. I do appreciate that. I thought it looked really cool, and I almost, at first, just from the art design, thought it was going to maybe be some like sort of like weird little RPG or something.
Yeah, we were literally sitting there, we're like, man, like we need some good little RPGs, and like we're like, because Andrew was saying, it's like how hard would it be to just make old school games to look a little bit better than back in the day, and do an RPG like that? And we're looking at that, we're like, oh yeah, this could be it. But as soon as I saw it, with that whole kind of tile manipulation, because when she pulls up the map, everything's kind of in these squares, and I mean, I guess you would call it a puzzle solver, because she was. Like, for instance, there was a part with, like, the river, and then she had to, like, move tiles around to where the river finally, or whatever it was, connected. And that's how you move on, and then you keep going. So, again, another very interesting concept, and I think in a day of games where there's so much of the same, to stand out and be unique screams volumes. And over just the last few games we've mentioned have all had very interesting concepts to them.
And all great art styles, too. And I think kind of now that I'm thinking about this game, too, thinking about the way that puzzle works as far as, like, the map goes, it reminds me almost like those those puzzles you get where you take the pieces out and you have to, the little
Like origami?
No, it's like flat board and it's got the squares in it and you're supposed to maybe get the penny to one side or the penny in the center or something like that.
I want to find it and I'm just put it on the video just so someone moving pennies along. Anything else with Cardo? Because that game is definitely a day oneer.
No, I think the next game was my favorite out of all of them though.
So Haven was the next one. That was by Game Bakers, action RPG. And it's so funny because we were just talking about they need a good RPG. The next game kind of delivered that. You're playing 2 characters, which I would say is odd for an RPG. Most RPGs, outside of maybe Paper Mario, generally do a party system. And this one is moving. It shows these 2 characters flying around. The story's based on these 2 staying together. And at first, I don't think we were sure if it was, because it looks almost either like it was a twin stick or it was definitely a co-op. And what did we find out?
Yeah, later on they did say it's local co-op.
Locals.
That and there is a romance too. So that's what I was running into. I was like, okay, these people are kind of going together, whatever. I could go for a good romance RPG. I haven't had something like that in a while. And
you gotta play Romancing Saga. but when you're watching the battle system, that's why when we first looked at it, I'm like, oh, is this co-op? Because it's showing the battle system, each player it looked like was kind of sinking into the combat to make the attack better. So I guess what Andrew was looking up is, what do? You touch the pad and now it's local and 2 people can play? They didn't really give much on that.
Yeah, they didn't say too much about it. So it just said that it's local. PlayStation said you touch a pad. I don't know what that means, if you touch it on the second controller or if maybe it's sticks or something. I don't know, but something I did read on there and I actually didn't say it out loud to you earlier. Now that I think about it too.
Now who's this loyal?
They said that they were actually trying to make it you don't see that much on the HUD. They try to make it as much as an experience as possible. So when you hit an enemy, there's no life bar, there's nothing like that. You just see what kind of damage you're doing, but you have no clue as far as whatever goes. And I think it's supposed to be just all visual, so it's supposed to be aesthetically pleasing.
Nice. And so, I would love to play a good 2-player RPG with anybody. That ever happened? Do we have 2-player RPGs like that? In the traditional sense of a turn-based kind of
not that I can name.
So that was a good one, guys. Check that out. And the last one that they ended it on, which was by Team 17, which I thought was a good way to do it. It was a name. Was the Worms game, Worms Rumble. Now this is an online battle royale game that also offers a deathmatch game. Now when you watch this trailer, it looked gnarly. It looked like there was all kinds of just worms running around, rocket blasting, grenade launching. it looked fun.
The first thing I told Craig, too, was, I don't know if this is, classic Worms, because this does not look turn-based.
Yeah.
And then, sure enough, it's, deathmatch, battle royale, and I was like, okay, well, they're kind of abandoning whatever. I'm sure they'll probably put a turn-based thing like what it traditionally is, where you pick and choose each of your guy. If you're unfamiliar with it, you have different worms that do different things to try to get around and kill, whatever on the opponents, but if it's not expensive, it seems like it'd probably be fun. I'd play it. I could always go for something quick, easy that I can get in and out of, provided it runs the way it's supposed to. Sure.
And that was the other thing I kind of noticed on it is the game looks like it's easy enough to jump into. There's not a big learning curve to get into, right? It's a couple worms, a couple rockets, run around. It's not going to be any other harder battle, royal game that's out there. It looks like a nice one to jump into that most people could jump into and have some fun.
I'd say graphically this one was the worst.
And I think it didn't actually have a release date. I want to say maybe it was 2020.
It said sometime in 2020.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to add on the initiative? Indie initiative?
Again, it was an indie initiative. Some of these actually are multi-platform. We went ahead and double-checked and looked back. So Haven, of course, Worms is on Xbox as it is already. So these games aren't just on PlayStation. But I thought it was really good. Better than the EAA play.
When 14 minutes of good, solid game trailers, for most of them. There was a couple, 2 or 3 that we're not talking about, that were kind of this is how you do it. 14 minutes, don't oversaturate it, but get it in there, show what you got to show.
Respect my time, and I will respect you.
Enough
I thought it was great.
Yeah, we can make news about it, and EA can choke on 45. So, guys, watch it. Description link is in the description. Check it out. Let us know what you think and what your number one game out of that. What would be your number one game on that? Was it Haven?
Haven for me.
Haven? Because I think that Fist game might be my number one. Fist looked pretty good. So
I'm all about that Have.
The Have. So behave, Andrew. We are gonna skip riffs, guys, because we've got a bunch of questions to get into today. So we're gonna do almost, I think, our first official small little mailbag episode. So video game questions of the week. So, question number 1 comes from Gino Perales. Any relation?
I don't know.
I never met the guy. So he asks, with new systems right around the corner, my question is, what would be a breaking point in buying one? I remember in 2013, we had the price point of Xbox of $500, and when it came out, I was prepared for it. With it being July now, we still have a good 5 months to save. Having paid $500 in 2013 for an Xbox, I have no problem doing it again for the power I know I'm going to get. I could see myself going up to $649. I think anything above that would be pushing it for me. I would probably wait until a price decrease or more likely get the all-digital version. What is your guys' limit? Do you have one? What do you think the majority of people will be, and if it is high, do you think this will push more people into the digital versions? That way they can still own a new system around launch. Solid question.
You mind if I start?
Hey, tee off, baby.
So, one, is that $649? Because here in Arizona, when you pay $5.99, it comes out to about $649 because of taxes.
$734.
Yeah, Uncle Sam really knows how to get you. But I think with a natural price, I think the max I would probably go is like $6.99. And that's with natural price. I'll pay the taxes. I'm not going to include that in them because that's state to state. That's not like Microsoft's thing. They have no control over that. So I think that's the highest I would go. Now, as far as your other question goes, and what's more interesting about it is, how does that digital play out? Because we have two different options right now. One, we don't know about the Xboxes. What has been said about it is that it is going to not just be a digital version, that it's going to be a slightly weaker version to make it a more affordable price point for you, which could sell more consoles for those people who want to jump, want graphical fidelity, don't care about like 4K, Ultra, whatever, whereas PlayStation's looks like it's a 1-to-1 ratio with just minus the disc. So I need to know what that price is first before I could make or break that sort of assumption, because I can't imagine that disc costing less than $100 tops. I'm saying a $50 difference, $100 tops. But at that point, if you're only paying the difference in what is Arizona, if it's over $400 is considered taxes, I would just get the disc-based version. Now, if it's the Xbox, though, and it's going to be that, and again, this is all speculation, if it's going to be that gap of this one is $5.99, that's the physical, that's the whatever, here's the weaker one, here's the whatever, and this is at $2.99, I think that can definitely help push sales for the people who aren't going to want to wait, or I'm just going to get this for now. Maybe I don't have a 4K TV. I'm not going to get the full 4K effect, whatever. When I get a TV, then I could upgrade consoles. So I think we have to wait to see what they have in store before we really decide. Even if I don't know the price, if I know what the difference is in the console's power and it's not just a disk drive, I think I can make a better assumption then. Yeah. So I think for Xbox it's a different story than PlayStation is right now, but we have to wait and see. But I am extremely curious, and that's something honestly I'm very disappointed in, because by this time last year we knew the release date, we knew the price for both consoles, and right now we barely just saw a console.
Yeah, it's still a tug of war match. They're trying to see who pulls first.
Very interesting though, and I'm really excited to see what it's going to be.
Yeah, you can't really match Andrew's argument when it comes to the price.
Oh, you can't.
To the price point. To the price point, that makes sense. I mean, what else can you really say?
Like this beer.
I don't know if the only thing I would say is I might push my chips in a little higher if the stack of the Xbox, and I'm talking more exclusively the Xbox, it was higher than what was your limit?
I say $6.99, but I know in my heart and soul
I would probably push it higher, and the only thing that would affect is me buying a PS5.
What's the max you would go? Because I think I say $6.99, but I would probably stop at $7.99.
I think $7.99 would probably be the only thing that would make the most sense. I don't think anything past $8 something makes sense.
Yeah,
like it'd be insane. And all the even a higher price one like what you're saying, all that's gonna do is if I am trying to pinch my pennies and make sure I'm taken care of in the gaming cycle, come next gen. All it would do is limit me from buying both day one. So if Xbox or vice versa PS5 was a little higher and I wanted to make sure I grabbed one, all it's going to do is stop me from buying the next one sooner than anticipated. But the bigger thing, unless you want to jump in and say something, the bigger thing...
Oh, yeah. Who knows? We might not have to buy one. Maybe we'll be cool enough and they'll send us one.
Oh, almost at that now. But the other thing I got to say is we just saw Sony's kind of lineup, mixed with third party and first party. The breaking point is if we find out in the end of July what's Microsoft's lineup. If Microsoft's lineup is nothing more than,
I didn't even think about that.
Nothing more than 3 games, then maybe I am gonna wait, because there's once upon a time Master Chief sold systems, and Microsoft and Xbox would not be in the gaming system if it was not for Master Chief. That sold Xbox.
Yeah, no,
and I would say maybe even into the 360 era. But it did not do that for the Xbox One and the Xbox One X and S era. It didn't do that anymore. There was enough games to where it justified day one purchases for games like that.
Well, not even that, but when you put out fucking the Master Chief Collection that doesn't work on launch, and you put out a mediocre Halo 5.
The Game Pass alone. If you're jumping into Xbox One X right now and you get the Game Pass, like that alone justifies buying that purchase. Now, if I'm going to look at on July 23rd, I believe, is when Xbox does their thing. And again, I'm confident.
That's the rumor.
I'm confident.
Yeah.
Phil Spencer is saying that they're looking good. If they have a small window of good games and now again, if it's Halo and maybe Hellblade and a new Fable, that's one thing. But if it's going to be the same old thing, like it's Halo
Gears
and Forza, then I don't know. Maybe I do wait 6 months. I mean, we arguably can't as a show that reviews things, but as a consumer that would be normally, trying to balance where my money goes,
I agree.
I would easily wait 6 months until there was at least 12 solid games out, because those 3 games, Forza, which is good, great game, nothing against it, but it's a mix. It's a rinse and repeat. Halo, and we know it's gonna be good, but again, it's a rinse and repeat. And if it's something else that doesn't meet standards, then what am I shelling out almost $700, $500 to $700 for on 3 games that if I do not like one of them or 2 of them, I'm only getting 1. So I think we really got to make our straw on the camel's back once Microsoft does its first party thing, because if it launches and Phil Spencer, they blow out of the fucking water and they go, man, here's 8 fucking games that are coming day one, then I'm all over it. I don't care what the price is. If it was $8.99, I'm getting it.
Even so, what I really need to see, it would be even be better. Give me those 3 games, but here's some third party Cyberpunk, whatever. But here's what it look. Give me a 1-to-1 ratio on why this looks so much better than that, and I'll be in on that too.
Yeah. So but to answer your third question, what do you think is going to hold most people back? I mean, in the time we're living in now, it's price. Anything with
COVID, with jobs and everything right now,
anything over $650 is going to stop the average person from buying anything new, because $650 turns into 7-something, turns into a 1 game day one, and if you're a family of 3, an extra controller. So anything past $650, I think, stops the average Joe from buying any of these consoles day one.
Yeah, even still, I mean, that's a conversation that could easily change, because right now with COVID and everything like that going on right now, a lot of jobs are closing. There's a lot of people, unfortunately, who are losing their jobs. So $650, whereas a year ago, I guess I wouldn't think of it as a big deal. I'm in a position to where I still wouldn't think of that as a big deal, because I'm fortunate enough to still be working. But I know there's tons of people out there who aren't.
Yeah, and the only beauty I can say for Xbox, because we do lean a little more towards Xbox, and I'm not sure if PlayStation does it, is if you do get an Xbox day one, and it did cost you an arm and a leg,
that Game Pass.
At least you can have the Game Pass. At least you can play every game you have on it, and at least all your peripherals will attach to it. So there's that. I mean, you don't necessarily, because it's supposed to be able to attach to every controller, every headset you ever had, every game, every disc you ever had. So I mean,
I guess that would be the thing though too, is launch.
I got to know the launch window.
Launch that Xbox. What they need to do is launch, and I don't know how much it'll cost. Launch it with a month of Game Pass, and then you can play that Halo instantly. That Ford. So that way, if they make all that stuff day one on Game Pass, I don't know if that's something they're going to continue doing. But I mean, there's so many variables, especially with the crazy time we're living in right now.
Yeah.
But definitely a great question. It's not we talk about it all the time.
Yeah, and I gotta say, you gotta wait till July 20-ish, and then we'll figure out what Xbox does, and that'll make or break me.
Just day by day right now.
Yeah. So nice question, Gino, and the next one comes from Auburn Stein. He asked, before quarantine, the last movie I saw was Sonic the Hedgehog. What 2020 movie were you guys anticipating but never got to watch because of coronavirus? I was excited for Black Widow and the new Conjuring movie. Now, again, guys, don't ever be afraid to throw those questions that aren't game related. Like Andrew and I like to talk about a lot of other things, and I like that this one kind of dives more into just our everyday. That's our everyday weekend life.
I love that you're all about that Conjuring, because I love horror movies. That's like my favorite film genre. So,
can you give me one more while you're...
Yeah, I can definitely grab you one.
I would say the one that caught mine, and there's tons. The one that caught me the most, and because I don't know if anyone knows, I'm a huge fucking Disney dork. So I was really looking forward to Mulan, especially with all the controversy around it.
I love Mulan.
I really wanted to see what they were going to do with it, with no Mushu, with changing the idea of, some of the songs, with taking like I'll make a man out of you out of it. I kind of want to see what they actually land, especially with having like Donnie Yang and Jet Li. I think Jet Li's in it. There's a couple of really good people in there.
See the dragon?
Oh, I hope so. Let's see, Auburn Stein. That movie was originally supposed to come out March 27th, so that movie should have been out by now, and it's not. So that one, and I mean, this might not be a popular opinion, but I like almost all the live action Disney remakes. I know there's a lot of people out there that
the ones I've seen have been good.
Hate them. I actually really appreciate them, and so that would be one of them. The other one I know was the Christopher Nolan and directing and Idris Elba starring was Tenet, and he's gone ho. He's been wanting to get this movie in the theaters. He wants this thing. He wanted it in there. I don't know if it was.
No, it looked like it was pretty cool.
Yeah, he wants it in there now because he's just like, this movie's going to do it. And I think it's getting the push back to like August, and and then things get worse later. And those are two movies I would say that are just on different spectrums. One reanimated or reinterpreted cartoon movie from Disney, and then Christopher Nolan, one of the top 5 directors of all time. So those would be two movies that I wanted to see that we are not able to due to COVID.
Mine would have actually been Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh,
because I was like really curious about that. I think it was supposed to come out like June 5th, and now that's also pushed back. So I think it got pushed to October, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have it here in front of me.
On my birthday.
That was the one movie I was actually really looking forward to over the summer. I'm not the biggest fan of Black Widow, so I actually would have gone to see it anyways. But yeah, for me it would have been Wonder Woman, especially with all the
because of David Harbour as her dad sliding into that fucking.
Oh, dude, I love that though.
I love David Harbour.
But yeah, I just miss popcorn.
Yeah, dude.
Like that good movie theater popcorn. I'm a slut for movie theater popcorn.
Yeah, he's the guy that punches the hole in the bottom. Let me see. So the next question, guys, comes from, and again, Albert Stein, thank you for the question. Love it. Comes from Casey Court. Now, Casey
wrote a novel.
Yeah, you son of a bitch. Wrote a big old thing. So I'm going to try to just chime into what I think was mainly the heart of what you had to say. It seems with the streaming boom, all that has gotten even more exposure and boost, as well as a base to start creating competitive leagues much more resembling traditional sports. What are your overall views on esports? Do you like them? Do you pay attention to them? Do you ever watch them? And what is your opinion moving forward with esports? So I'll go first. I think you have a little more to say than I do.
Sure.
So I just wanted to go in, man, that I love esports, but let me be extremely clear. And I've said this, I think, on our last episode. I do not like watching people playing games when I could be playing games. I grasp the mindset for it. I grasp people that like to look at like a thing like Twitch, which I know esports kind of does, and it's not a fair comparison because this is now getting on the ball court of being like watching a football game. You get to watch your favorite things because it's full of MOBAs and card games and online shooters. But again, though, it's the same. I'll speak back to what I said. I have a hard time spending 2 hours watching these things than I do rather than just playing them and then catching up highlights the next day. But with that being said, I do got to say that esports has done something for this industry, for the gaming industry, a community that we are in, that has never been done before, and that is not only surpassing but dwarfing every other live sport, basketball, football, hockey, combined. Like it is a force of fucking nature that esports is able to do this. And what I love is that the money goes, it's all tournament based. This money goes right back into the fan or to the gamers that are winning. Like teams are winning tens of thousands to millions of dollars in this. So anything that supports young creative players that are able to shine in games that I really wouldn't care about, that are becoming overnight superstars. What's there to not like? Now, what do I think is going to happen to them? I don't think it's slowing down. I mean, I know there's controversy with certain players in the industry, whether they be in a game or maybe a behind the scenes, but you can't let, or even like what happened with Blizzard when they let something slip online and commentators are getting the back end of it. That shit happens. But overall, I mean, it's just moving in a direction where it just seems as of right now it's not going to stop. And I gotta like the fact that these guys are getting shine time, and maybe they're not rock stars, but in our world, they're getting there. I only got to say what I used to really like when it comes to watching things like this was documentaries. I like watching. I watched the League of Legends one, and it shows the gamers moving into the house, leaving their cities. I like watching that kind of version of what's going on with esports and seeing the build up and stuff like that. So I watched the documentaries, and my biggest thing I guess I used to watch in high school was like when MLG used to do the Halo stuff, and you had like the Ogre Twins and T Squared and stuff like that. I used to watch a lot of that. But again, my mindset is what it is, so it only goes so far. Do I love it? Yes, I think it's the best thing that's happened to gaming, and I think it's only going to grow as time goes on. There's nothing that's showing that it's going to slow down. So with that, I'll pass it to you.
I'm a fan of esports. I personally don't follow it like I do some other sports until the end, though. Like I don't watch all of them, but I do watch the finals for like the COD tournaments. I even watch the finals for stuff I'm not interested in. Like I really don't care for like League of Legends.
Yeah, I love
stuff
watching
like
the
that.
highlights.
But I do love watching like the finals, just a team coming head to head. I mean, but for me, more personally, it's more for like shooters, or especially watching things like Evo or like all the fighting tournaments and stuff like that. Those are some of my favorites. And actually lately, I forget the channel it is that I've been watching, does a lot of the fighter. They've been doing like fighter documentaries.
I was just gonna say,
like,
surprisingly, me and Andrew have been watching just like randomly like some tournaments and stuff like that. I'm like, that's fun.
The Tekken one. Yeah, they were doing it like all about Tekken. There's all these different people, like this dude who like won the tournament with like the panda, but statistically explained why it was like the worst character you could choose and stuff like that. Like I love watching that stuff. And again, I'm a finals watcher. I think it's going to continue to grow. I think they add it to like the X Games, isn't it?
I believe so, and fuck, man, there's more eyes on it, because one of the things this was a thing that is from 2010, grew to over 4.5 million unique watchers, and was grossing over $1 billion in revenue. That was 2010, and that was more than some sports ever saw. So, I mean, that was 2010, and this thing in another 10 years is only going up. So, I mean, there's no stopping this.
I think they could add it, even further. I don't know if they'd want to add it to, like, the Olympics, but, for the longest time, also, skateboarding was looked at just like a novelty, like, little thing for the side stuff or whatever, and now skateboarding is considered an Olympic sport as well, too. And I used to skateboard all the time. I still love skateboarding. I was a very avid skateboarding. I was all about it.
You used to kickflip.
Yeah. And, I never imagined one day that would be an Olympic sport, with the way that people talked about skateboarding, especially then at that time, as being like a waste of time, whatever, is a good comparison to how people talk about gaming. It's a waste of time. It doesn't do you any good. You're never going to get anywhere with it. Those are some of the same remarks you'll see in that community.
The best thing I have to say about what esports does versus everything else is there is no gender separation.
Anybody can do it.
I don't mean that in a mean way, because I think some sports clearly there's weight division, there's gender divisions. Esports is equality. I'm not in a weird way to say equality matters or doesn't. It's just everyone's on the same playing field. There can be a guy that's just as good as a girl. There can be someone that has no defaults that is competing with someone that has a handicap, because due to Microsoft's new pads can play just as sharp or sharper than I can. So the beauty that I think esports does is it lends more eyes and fans to something, and you can follow your players, and your players are going to play your other favorite players, right? There is no big thing that separates who can do or play what in esports. And I think you got to remember, that's the biggest thing. Everything else has a division or a weight class or a separation by some means. Esports, playing a game, anyone can play Call of Duty together.
Yeah, physically, it's not like football. You don't have to have the strongest arm to be a quarterback.
It's a mental game and a hand-eye coordination versus anything that demands anything versus biology or physicality.
It still is a physical thing. If your reaction time is dog shit, you're not going to do good.
It's your hand-eye and your mental, but that's really the only limitation and how good you are. So I think that's why it's doing so well, because you can watch any team, anytime, anywhere, and play. And I think that's one of the key things that you got to remember, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think so.
So, I don't know. I guess that's my ending on that. So, thank you for the question, Casey. Oh, I do got to point out, though, because, it's a paragraph and a half. He was saying that both of us mainly stick to story and narrative games and stay away from the online competitiveness. No, Andrew, I would say 60% of Andrew's gaming is online, competitively playing online, not for money or anything like that. And Andrew plays good games when it comes to beating good games.
Yeah, no,
I play mainly story and narrative. Andrew plays every online game there is.
Yeah, whatever the biggest online game is, odds are I'm probably playing it. So every day when I go home, I'm either.
I was like, what's the rundown?
I was either right now it's Rainbow Six Siege, PUBG, Call of Duty. I juggle between those three. I'll still jump into Battlefield 4, and I actually still jump into Halo to try and kill it. And I play those on top of playing whatever story game. So
I did want to make that clarification. Andrew is an online player that plays narratives. I'm a 90% narrative player that'll sometimes play online.
Honestly, that's why sometimes too. Like Craig's got a higher gamer score than me because I spend a majority of my time playing online. I might go through and play games like Yakuza and other things that I love.
Speedrun Resident Evil 3.
Yeah, but when I get home, I'm usually always either getting hit up or hitting someone up. Hey, let's get a few rounds of PUBG. Let's get a few rounds of something, whatever. Let me get that out of my system, and then I'll jump into my single story, whatever, for myself before I go to bed.
Right, which is why I think me and Andrew make a certain good clash. Andrew's online playing that. I mainly spend most of my time doing that. So I just want to make the clarification because I do remember reading the rest of the comment and it was saying something like that. So I just want to make sure I had your back.
Thank you.
All right, so the next one, guys, comes from Divine Anchor, and he says, or she says, I don't know, I made the mistake, so I'm just going to say they said, disappointed I missed the contest, but glad I found you guys. Watched Mandrew's headset review and really liked the background Bubble Man remix tune. Do you guys listen to gaming music outside of when you're actually playing games? Cheers. Well, first a second.
Cheers. If you're saying cheers, I wonder if you're foreign, maybe like British or Irish.
Or maybe he watches maybe he watched the end of our first episode, and at the end we always say cheers.
Yeah, we used to do that, huh?
We still do.
I don't feel it's the same though. I do all the time, especially when I'm at work. I actually the same thing that I had linked in that review was actually Game Chops, and they have like a study. They call it a study channel. But I remember just one day being at work, I put together my own video game playlist because I'm just like, I'm kind of tired of listening to what's on the radio. I'm tired of listening to all this other shit. And then I remember reading online too that they said that video game music is designed to help you solve problems and overcome obstacles and just keep you calm, relaxed, whatever the case may be. And since I'm like I used to be fixing things all the time, doing computer repair, like taking things apart and all that stuff, trying to figure out what issues were, that I felt like that actually really helped me versus whatever, a catchy song might be in the background. And even now I've carried that over into my job, where if you go over to my cubicle, that's what you'll hear is I Game Chops. I have it linked on that other video, has that thing, and I just go through all that stuff. And even lately too, I've actually been going through and I have a Cowboy Bebop channel on there too. So lately I've super been into the lo-fi remixes because I think they're very creative. Ooh. And there's a lot of them out there. I think they're very good, but I love video game music. It's my ringtone, my alarm. I use it all the time, and I listen to it all the time. I personally, that's one of my favorite things about games is the music. And then if a game has bad music, I notice it like right away like that. I'm like, oh, well, this fucking sucks, even if the game's good.
Yeah, I will always tip my hat off to Andrew's ear for a song. Like we'll listen to Power Hours that have a guest a song, and Andrew's fucking pretty crafty at getting them. I do listen to music. Andrew actually made me when I was working at Boost, you made me a playlist.
Yeah, that video game playlist.
And so I remember listening to that, but I don't know. Eventually I kind of just need words. And so on a twist on the question, I do listen to video game music when I can. Because again, it is soothing. Sometimes it is the best thing to just get your head out of the clouds or maybe in it. But I listen to more people that sings about video games. And I know Andrew kind of thinks it's a little cornball cheesy, but I do want to give a shout out. There's a guy named Travell. He does a song called Video Games. It's fantastic.
It's all right.
There's another person named Starbomb, or not another person, a group. They make these hilarious compilation songs of just random Mario fighting Luigi and all this stuff, and it's to me that's funny, and it's about video games, and I understand what they're talking about when they speak it. So to me, if somebody else hears it, I kind of feel like in a club where I'm like, oh, well, you don't get that reference. Not in a mean way, but I'm like, oh, I get everything they're saying. And the last one I want to shout out was, I believe her name is Eliesa Cara. She does one called Nintendo Games. So if the vein of your question is if that can count, then yeah, I listen to video game music, but it's about video games instead of games in video games. Or music in video games.
Like the actual theme itself, yeah.
So, drop down below, though. Yeah, I want to know what soundtrack captures yours, because we actually just went to the Final Fantasy VII Orchestra.
Yeah, I loved it.
That was awesome. I mean, there's certain things you just don't not listen to, and One Winged Angel, Sephiroth, Final Fantasy VII is one of those songs that you just got to be able to hear whenever.
No, it was great, man.
Nice. Okay, so the next question comes from... sorry, guys. sorry if that hurt it. So fun story. I was driving with Dante, and he has like a nice subwoofer in his truck. So, because when I listen to this, I never hear any of the taps. It sounds fine. But Dante has that subwoofer, and we were driving, and every time we put a beer down, you could hear a thumb. I'm like, what's the point of me buying this shock absorber? I thought that was the point. So, sorry, Dante, if I just knocked that and it fucked your ears up. But the next question, guys, comes from Christian Vargas. And Christian Vargas, old school fan of the show, says, in your opinion, what is the worst game you have ever played? So two-parter, a story game that has replay value and you've actually gone back and played. I'll go first because I know I kind of really want to hear your answer, so I'll get mine out of the way. So I'm old enough to remember having an Atari, and I actually remember, and I still have it. I still have them both in my collection. And these are generic answers. E.T. and Pac-Man suck. I mean, they are objectively bad games that have gone down in time as the worst games of all time. So those are games that I actually own that suck. And I would say modern day new school. I tried playing King Kong. I do not remember it being any fun. I know Gino, I think 100%ed it, and he said it was okay. But the other game was, and I don't know if it was Incredible Hulk or Hulk. It was one of the movie adaptations. And I remember playing the first 15 minutes of this game, and I'm like, dude, this thing sucks. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going with it. So that would be the shitty game. Now, games that I've actually gone back and replayed, I would say Force Unleashed on Star Wars was awesome, because if you don't cheat the game, you can actually play one way light and then replay it again and play the next way dark. So there's replay value with the fun storyline with awesome Star Wars mechanics and force powers. The other one was when I went from 360 to Xbox One. I went and replayed Star Wars South Park: The Stick of Truth. Hilarious, still looks great, comedy holds up, RPG. So that was a lot of fun. And then my all-time game is Super Mario RPG, which I've beaten probably 15, 20 times. So there would be repeat games, and then there's 4 shitty games.
For my repeat games, I would go Majora's Mask, just because I love the story. I love the characters in that one.
It does.
That's something that I've beaten a million times. But also Resident Evil 4, because I beat it a million times on GameCube. When it came to Xbox, bought it day one, smashed it again because I love the story. Didn't skip the cut. Resident Evil 4, I think, is a masterpiece of a game. It's got some flaws, but it's a prim-looking Stargazer. Yeah. As far as bad games, I didn't want to pick anything old because sometimes those are a product of their time. I'll give you 2. One, I'm just going to throw it out there because I always do, is going to be Kingdom Hearts 3. Was just garbage. Garbage story.
Black eye.
Everything sucked. But recently, as far as a bad game goes, that I didn't understand how the game still sells for $40, is they recently added DayZ to the Game Pass. Now, if you don't know what DayZ is, it's, for lack of a better word, I guess you could describe it as a survival battle royale, except for when you die, there's no official winner. You just spawn without all your shit. The winner keeps your shit, and they keep on keeping on in this world. You spawn on a beach with nothing. Now, I played this game when it came to the Game Pass, and I don't need action every 10 minutes or anything, but when I go fucking an hour without running into a single living soul in a game, and not to mention, it's one of those ones where you have to constantly drink, you have to constantly eat,
right, sustain
your vitals. I mean, I actually played this with my cousin AJ because he told me to download it so we can try it together, so we could try and group up, whatever. There's no map on the game either, which I get to a point, but we were both like, okay, let's just head towards the sun, using that as a guideline. And the closest we ever got to each other was he died. I heard his gunshots trying to fight zombies that were attacking him, because there's zombies and players in this world, but you just go forever without running into anybody. It's fucking
no good.
It's boring, doesn't look good, runs like shit, and I don't understand how it's still $40. I think it's $40 or $50, and I even had to go into the server browser because we were like, okay, maybe we're not giving this game a fair chance. Let's try a server that... Oh, that's the worst part, is sometimes when you join too, everybody shares the same loot, and I don't need to have everything in the world. I'm not asking to be overpowered, but everywhere you fucking look, there's absolutely nothing. So you're just running around with your fists the whole fucking time. And if a zombie hits you, you have the chance to start bleeding. So where you're just fucking bleeding out while you're running looking for shit that's been fucking looted the whole time. But what pissed me off even more is we go into the custom servers and like, okay, well, let's find a high loot server. So that way, you know, we can have a little bit more fun. Maybe people are more willing to run around because you don't risk losing all your shit. Barely still ran into fucking anybody. When I did run into somebody, they didn't have a fucking goddamn thing either. And so we're all fighting over a jacket because there's nothing around because everything's been fucking looted. I'm like, this is a highlight. I gave it 2 days. We spent like 4 hours each fucking day on it. Then I was like, this game fucking sucks. Like, this game is garbage. Like, I don't understand how anybody could pay $40 for this, how anybody could charge $40 for this, how anybody could charge fucking $20 for this. That game, I was pissed. I was mad that I spent the fucking time to download it and it was free.
Oh, man. I
really haven't been that mad about a game in a fucking while to where I was fucking pissed.
I don't think we've had a Mandrew rant like that.
I haven't been that upset about anything in a while, and I uninstalled
like episode 9.
Dude, I uninstalled this game like a month ago, and it still makes me mad to think about it.
Oh man, that was refreshing. I have not heard Andrew go off. Andrew goes off here and there, but I haven't heard him go off on a fucking tangent like that since fucking 2019.
AJ, I want you to leave a comment with how bad that fucking game was.
So if that answers your question, Vargas. Leave yours down below. And again, anyone that makes it this far, I thought we were going to be, the majority of our episodes going to be doing questions, but we did do a pretty healthy, segment on the 2 original topics. So we still have 3 more to go. So apologies if this video is a little longer than we've been trying to keep it under the 45 to 55 minute window. But when it comes to fan questions, man, like these are what I love. And I do love answering the best. So this is when you get rare, raw. Mandrew, and oh my god, I'm sorry I broke character, but that was fantastic. Anything else you want to add, or dare I ask?
No.
Okay, so the next question, guys, comes from Gamer Guy, and he asks, do you guys ever find yourself playing old or retro games anymore? I still have my PS1 and N64, and have games like Final Fantasy VII and Mario Kart, but now that those games are remastered and there's new ones on the new systems, I find it collecting more dust and less use. Hashtag when's the next contest? Coming soon. And I guess I'll start with this one. I try my best, man. I try my best. And I think the younger you are, the easier it is to get people to come over. Because I do sit back and I was playing Road Rash 2 the other day by myself. But again, it's not terribly fun playing old games, by yourself without a crew. And I think the younger you are, the easier it is to do it. The older you are, everyone's just got a schedule. I mean, everyone just does. I mean, unless you can make time to do a sit at home N64. Because so I had a couple buddies the other day come over, and shout out to Nick Fox, Nathan DeWitt, and Danny Sixberry. They came over. We're all hanging out. We're drinking beers. I have an N64 set up. Mario Kart's still in my system. We were playing Mario Kart, and it was the most fun I've had in a while. And I'm like, damn, I miss that stuff. And I wish I could do it more, but to be honest with you, man, I mean, these are just kind of trophies at this point. Nobody comes over to go, hey, man, do you want to play anything on the Dreamcast? Do you want to play
Samba de Amigo?
Samba de Amigo, best game ever on the Dreamcast. So I would say the 64 is probably the most vital system I still have that people come over because I still have Mario parties and GoldenEyes. Like when Ryan Sims used to live with us, we were playing Mario parties and GoldenEye every night. And again, it's just who you're around and who wants to come do it. As far as games like Final Fantasy VII, yeah, there is no real reason to go back and play a game like that when you can modern day play it on, and I don't want to call them hacks by any means, but just boosters. Like, I mean,
just speed up the process a little bit.
Those games are time consuming, and when you're wasting them on an old system that doesn't have any of the new features, because like I can play Final Fantasy VII now, even if I play it with no boosters, I can play in a party with Andrew and I can talk to him the whole time. You can't do that on those old ones. So the days of sitting by yourself, just there's nothing gleaming about it when you could sit online and talk to somebody and at least play a game or do something like that. So I'm with you, man, because I don't think Andrew really is, and he'll give his opinion in a second. I do have all the old systems, and I love playing all the old ones, but in modern day, yeah, I mean, they're probably collect more dust than not. And again, that depends on who you hang out with. If you hang out with people that like playing retro games, then your life's probably a lot different than mine. If you live in a world where everybody would rather sit at home online collectively and play a game versus come over and play N64. It's just based on where you're at and who you know. So I am leaning more towards dust collecting, but I am never straying away from an N64 night, a GameCube night, a Super Nintendo night. I know Gino's been wanting to talk about, and I think you too, running through all the Donkey Kongs again. You can't recreate that experience on Nintendo Switch versus holding an old controller. And I will say, I do have online with Nintendo Switch, and it does give you the NES and the SNES catalogs for those months as they go by. And that's probably as close as I get to playing retro games these days.
Yeah, these days I don't do it as much. Usually I try to do it like at least yearly. I mean, there's usually one game that I always beat, like Super Mario World, just because it's pretty easy, especially if you know what you're doing. I usually run through it. I usually run through like Mega Man every year on Super Nintendo, or like Zelda, or even with my girlfriend, we went through together. We did Donkey Kong 1 and Country 2. I'm not really a fan of 3. But I don't find myself doing it as much as like I used to, like halfway through the year now, and I really have no urge to kind of like hook it up. I appreciate those games for what they are, and I do love, like, there are days where, like he's saying, like, I love coming over here and we'll have like a Mario Party night or, you know, Mario Kart night or something like that. Those are few and far between when we have this show to run on top of every other game, on top of everything else we need to do. Right, so
yeah, again, I think it's a younger man's game to do, because again, you want to get your games done. You want to make sure you're doing you. It's just when you have to make a day and plan people's schedules around getting together to play certain things, it's just time consuming. And the younger you are, I think the easier it is.
I do love like retro arcades, like going out and going to like a bar that has like the 64 and the shit like that, where you can drink and play that stuff. So I mean then I can do everything together, because then I'm with my friends, we're drinking, we're doing whatever. It's an experience. It's a story to tell to you guys. Like, it's something fun. So I mean, stuff like that. You know, either way, I love that stuff. I just don't do it as much again, because I think you said it perfectly. It's hard to find the time right now.
Yeah, and I will say that I try my best to do annual beats of Mario 3 and like a Punch-Out, even though I don't finish Punch-Out every time. I just get as far as I can. But Mario 3 beat, I'm getting past that year, so maybe there's time for us to go back and set that up. So thank you for the question, and let me know what you play. I mean, is there anything? I know you got the 64 and you're still doing that, but let us know if there's anything you actually do find yourself playing these days. So, second to last question, guys, comes from Sammy G. And she writes, haha, losing his words. Great video, guys. So I think she's referencing to the last video where Andrew said he was lost for words. And I was like, he's losing his words. That was because I went back and watched it. That was pretty funny. Is there a game that you refuse to play and will not play to this day? And if so, why?
Minecraft. I'm not a big fan of like build your own world bullshit. So I mean, in that same vein, I don't play like Roller Coaster Tycoon, Project Spark. I love Jurassic Park more than anything. That's probably like my favorite movie of all time. But I'm not going to play that Jurassic Park build your own like theme park thing, or what Jurassic Park Evolution, whatever it is, even though it's free. I mean, if there's easy achieves, maybe I probably would, or something like that on there. But I'm any sort of build your own thing, I'm not into.
I would say, and again, no problem against the game, but Fortnite is not for me. I'll dabble in battle royals like Call of Duty. I played Fortnite. I played PUBGs with Andrew, but I don't, and I get it. Best-selling game of all time. Everybody plays it. That's under my age. I can't wrap my head around it. I don't want to. I watch like the Andrews kid will be over here and he'll be playing. And he's just fucking cruising through. I'm just like, I don't not to sound like an old timer, but it's like, that's just not my style of play, man. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to build.
You're just too slow, bro.
Exactly. That's just not me. So that'd be the popular.
It's not me. It's not who I was.
It's not Pain. So that'd be the popular game, I would say, that I just have never and probably will never. I mean, I've watched it, like Dante and the other Andrew. How many Andrews are we gonna mention on this show today? I've seen them play, and I like I said, Daniel, when he plays it, that's fine. I don't mind watching it, but I can't play it.
I can understand that. Yeah. I mean, I know for a fact that you're not a Malibu Barbie. You're a ballerina. You're graceful.
They had to go. So, Sammy G, thank you for the question, and throw your answer down below. And the last question comes from returning fan
Post Malone,
Connor Malone, who
just shaved his head and got a tattoo on the side of it, which looks pretty
forever.
Sweet.
He was solving problems in the Bermuda Triangle, right? He texted me, he said he was coming back, so I was like, all right, Connor, here you come. So he had a question, And it was so I put it at the end because I thought it was kind of the funniest one. And he goes, not a video game question of the week, but how many more beers, and I guess I never realized this, how many more beers are consumed when the show ends to the outtakes, which is the side reel that Andrew and I do, or whoever's on the show. Always seems like at least 3 more beers by then, especially the TV show theme question this week. Haha, hashtag Quarantine Gamer for the contest that we just did. I guess I never really thought of that, because once upon a time when you watch the old episodes, Andrew and I used to do side reel first to get warmed up. We used to turn the camera on. We used to just bullshit.
Oh, yeah, we did used to
you
do
remember
that?
Sure,
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to do side reel first. But what would happen, and this is more my problem than his, and I hope you can contest it. I'm right. Or is contest the right word? Back me up, I guess. I used to drink a lot more before and after shows. So when we did the side reel first, I'd get more drunk and then try to do the show.
And then just forget whatever as time went on.
And then for me, you know, because I'm very, I don't know if any of the old episodes noticed that, I'm very note-oriented. I like keeping it moving in a certain way. If we did the side reel first, that kind of distracted me. So now we decided to put it towards the end, because at the end it doesn't matter. We can sit here, we can bullshit. And I would say, depending on what episode you're watching, anywhere from 3 to 6 get on top of this, because I'm at least 2 or so. Andrew maybe puts on another 1 or 2. And the other issue that I don't know if we've mentioned a lot, but there's been times where, Andrew, like, let's say, and I hope to God this isn't happening right now, with the show botches, and we can't use it. And we have to record the whole fucking thing over again.
Oh, yeah. We've had to do that once or twice.
But we don't clear the table. So we'll do the whole fucking show over again as authentic as we can. And it'll just stack on top of the thing. And that's only happened like once or twice. Once or twice, like, the camera stops and we're like, shit. All right, you ready? Because we gotta go. We gotta do it right away. It's gotta be right now. And we'll just retake the whole thing. And so I would say organically, maybe 3 to 5 maybe hit after we're done with the show.
Yeah, and I think it also depends too, because usually I drive home, so I actually only drink like 1 to 2 like during the show, and then I drink like lots of water and stuff like that, and I wait a few hours before I go home. You know, always make sure I'm safe. But if I'm staying the night, like I think like last week on Thursday, I stayed the night. We did the show because then we did The Last of Us. I'll just start hammering out like whatever, because then by then it doesn't matter. Or some days I'll get here super early, so I'm like spacing it out between then, so we just leave them all
right,
up.
Right, because sometimes Andrew's here by like 4 or 5, but we don't record till 8, so he's already had 1 or 2, you know, because it's the time spaced out. So I mean, the answer is a gamble. I mean, it really is just whatever day of the week it is. And I guess, but what's funny is I've never noticed that. I
didn't think about it either until you posted that question. I was like, oh yeah, I guess there is, like, because when we end the show, sometimes there's like 4, but then when I went back and I'm looking at the side reel, there's like 9 scattered around the table.
It's like, oh. So Connor Malone, thanks for being back. Thanks for the question. Thanks for. Because that's just all that proves is that he makes it to the end of the episode.
Right? I appreciate that.
There's a lot of fair weather people that watch this and will only be in it for the contest.
Hey, I appreciate 10 seconds.
And that's fine. But, Connor, the reason we got to give you a shout out, because, yeah, that question only means you make it to the last 95% of the show to notice something like that. So, kudos off to you, my man. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I think it's time to call it.
So, yeah, this episode ran a little bit longer, guys. But, again, make sure that if you guys are wanting to submit questions, you want to get a shout out, send it to us, guys. We love doing stuff like that. That's actually been one of the more funner episodes I think we've done.
I loved it.
Yeah, we didn't. I mean, obviously those first 2 topics, I didn't realize we had a little more to say than I guess I initially thought we did.
But it's been a while since we've done that many questions.
So that was a nice little mailbag. That was about, like 9 questions or so. So, guys, if you do want to submit things to us, make sure you send them to lastcallproductions@gmail.com. Send them to our Instagram at lastcallproductions. Send them to Twitter if you like it, lastcall, PRODZ. And make sure you follow us on all the rest of the social medias. Make sure that if you guys are interested in just the audio version of the podcast, we have that on CastBox, we have that on iTunes, we have that on Spotify. So links are all in the description. Make sure you check those out. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, and we will be announcing our next contest soon.
Just need more information, unless you can get us to that sweet thou. We just cracked 900.
We just cracked that 900. So thank you guys so much. Until next time, that is Mandrew Montemayor, and I am Craig Perales, since we're doing a reverse order. Cheers.
Fucking the Halo,
Use your
the
words.
Halo animated movies.
Yeah, we talked about this. The 4 different versions of how they.
Yeah, so I
turn the
wonder if
story.
they take something like that, or even like that, like
I'd hate it
3D
if they
one or
did
something like
that.
that.
If they changed the way they look in the first 15 minutes to the next 15 minutes to the next 15 minutes, no. Especially if you're rebuilding the franchise, that's like a one-off. That'd be like cool if you did it, but like no, if you're gonna rebuild Turtles now, then I need them to be.
I don't know how they.
solid.
Yeah, I have no.
Have you not seen TMNT?
No.
Oh.
That guy, isn't it? Isn't that guy Shredder?
Oh yeah, isn't that Phil Yagoda from Entourage?
Stop asking me Entourage question. I tell you every fucking goddamn time I don't watch the
You
show.
know, like the best show ever. IMDb him. I'm pretty sure that's Phil Yagoda from Entourage. Yeah, I forgot because it was the one guy was like it was almost like a Rachel Gold. One guy was like a decoy, and then
There's a decoy in that movie. I thought Shredder was gonna be like Asian or cool, and I remember seeing it, and I was like, oh,
Asian
no.
or cool.
I was like, yeah, this kind of sucks.
Well, I just remember his armor was, dude, they made him shredded out. It was just like all lines. Like, how
Was
do
it
you even
cool?
fight that? Like, I don't get how you block his hit if his forearm and his fucking, both halves of his forearm is just covered in blades.
I don't know. I just think I really like the '90s movie a lot. That
Yeah, you're not stacking any chips against that.
well, yeah, and that Shredder was badass, and Super Shredder was badass.
And
that's the
Asian.
thing is the yeah, exactly exactly why I brought it up. Like, you don't lead
Oroko Saki.
you don't lead a fucking ninja organization, and you're a white guy.
Not like you used to.
Dude, I like a message for you, April O'Neil.
Oh, classic bitch slap.
Goddamn.
We should make a top 5 bitch slap video.
What would be second? Oh,
Entourage,
I thought. Oh,
Ari Gold. That is what we call a bitch slap for a bitch.
no, I would have said.
Get it?
God, Tombstone.
Tombstone works.
I'd put Tombstone over that Ari
Tombstone
Gold because I've
works. You
seen
haven't
that
seen
scene.
Ari Gold, have you?
I've seen that scene because we watched
Oh.
Ari Gold's best moments for like an hour, and I was like, well, this sucks, but
How does that suck? I hate you.
that guy's name William Fichtner. Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, Black Hawk Down, Longest Yard, Mr. Oh, The Dark Knight. Why the fuck didn't I say The Dark Knight?
Why don't we think of that?
Yeah. And this gives you power over me,
That's
Craig?
not the same one, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Is it?
Your attack did not work, my friend.
Oh, I thought that was a younger guy than him. He's kind of an older buck.
Oh wait, no, that's the
See?
Dark Knight Rises. Oh no, he's the banker at the beginning.
Yeah, okay.
With the shotgun.
I was like,
what
oh my
am I
god, that
thinking?
guy's
Yeah, I was
way
thinking of a different
younger.
guy.
I'm like, man, Hollywood's been good to him.
Heat, Contact, Armageddon, Perfect Storm. He's been in a lot of shit.
Like good shit or bad shit?
No, it all looks like it's good, man. I just know Black Hawk Down, The Longest Yard, but I knew he was in Batman. But yeah, I can't picture that guy being Shredder. Like, I was like, if you're gonna pick Shredder, dude, Idris Elba can be Shredder.
I would fucking like that.
Like, pick someone.
But again,
someone
though,
cool
is
to be
Shredder's
Shredder.
character not based on his origin of being from Japan as a ninja? I mean, it's kind of hard to. There's certain characters that you can change the race, but I don't know if Shredder's one of them. The whole origin is that they come from Japan, immigrants that rose up as ninjas that are coming to America. I don't know if
He could
that
be
works.
black and Japanese.
Not back in those days.
That's not even what bugs me the most. I think
No, it wouldn't bug me. There's certain origins I don't think.
Well, no, I'm saying if I'm
can
going to
twist.
say like, okay, this doesn't make sense, this doesn't make sense. If what doesn't make the most sense about me is if you're going to choose Shredder, you choose somebody who is intimidating. That guy's not intimidating. He's a businessman to me.
I gotta rewatch it because I know they did something that kind of made sense, but it's been a minute. All I remember is all I remember is not hating the first one, and then watching number 2, and I'm like, what is happening? And even with Stephen Amell,
What's the number 2?
I love Stephen Amell with Casey Jones in it. I believe they were getting into like the whole Rocksteady and Bebop thing, and I think like Bassett Stockman started making like a kind of appearance, and maybe a Shredder return. It was one of those movies I watched once, and I'm like, dude, the '90s movies are still better, which is a slap in the face to.
I barely remember the third
Michael.
one.
I think Michael Bay does the new ones. I think that's who it was. I'm like,
yeah, I'm pretty
come
sure.
on, man, make a fucking turtle movie. Which is why I'm hesitant if Seth Rogen produces an animation.
I think Seth
reboot
Rogen gets
of the
it,
cartoon, but a producer though, and he's not directing. So it's like now who's directing it? I really gotta show you that TMNT movie. It's good.
I have to see. I don't
think
know.
Shredder has like a daughter in that movie.
I think there's good room for like animation, like as long as it's.
I would love it if it was animation, but it's like, but again, back to the question. We already did an animated movie that nobody even remembers, TMNT, which is awesome. So
yeah, but I think now's the time. Bring it.
We're gonna do a SpongeBob type movie that looks like a cartoon.
Bring it back like fucking Into the Spider-Verse, which is arguably the most popular Spider-Man movie.
I hope so. If they can do it like that, then yes. Which I'm saying, you gotta watch TMNT. It is like, it's dark, it's gritty, it's
Has that never been the biggest Ninja
Turtle
fan?
Turtles are kind of more like
so like besides
than
like
big.
Bebop, Rocksteady, the only other villain I can name is like Krang. I don't even know what he does. I just know he's the stomach.
The brain.
Is he a brain?
Yeah. Yeah. He's a like a.
Who's the big fucking guy who wears like the 3D glasses looking things that like shoots like laser beams?
That's his body. He makes a body to put himself in.
That's his body. I thought it was a separate guy.
No, he's the stomach. Krang is in the stomach.
Well, yeah, I know that Krang lives in the
but
stomach, but I don't remember that
thing.
being his body. It's this big fucking.
You talking about the guy with the red underwear, with the wings and the fucking little thing over his head, and the glasses, and he shoots out like.
Maybe I just thought that was a separate guy.
In Turtles in Time, he's like on episode.
Oh yeah. While you're going through the skyscraper, yeah.
That's him. Yeah, that's his body.
Like I couldn't name another turtle villain.
You can't name the Rat King. He's the one that gets Splinter under his control.
I thought the Rat King was a fucking Batman villain.
No.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a Batman villain.
Oh, there might be. King. But the Rat King is that guy with red hair and bandages all over his fucking face.
I barely remember watching the cartoon. And I don't think that cartoon has aged well.
No, that's definitely a product of its time. Like in my head, it's so great. Gino said he went back and rewatched it and he's like, it's terrible. I'm like, I can't go back and do that because like I remember it being great. So like I can't and won't.
I think it's the same way, like there's a few like hit or miss like X-Men's where
you don't
like,
remember,
I was watching
obviously Raisin and Taka. You don't remember
what the fuck is that?
They're in the movies. The wolf and the snapping turtle.